I grew up confused about my culture and identity and felt out of place most of the time until I found comedy, which forced me to be honest with myself, and I realized mostly I'm just an expat brat. Welcome to my show. I'm Salman. All right, people, this is another glorious week we're looking at. I'm currently recovering from a gig last night, as are the laws of stand-up comedy. Eventually you do a gig where you doubt everything you've ever written, and I had one of those last night. It's been a while, so it was a bit challenging because normally I'll find something, but I was just not to make excuses and stuff, but to make a good excuse. I wasn't feeling too well, so I didn't push myself, and the result was a gig that luckily most people will remember. I was the comic there, and that's the beauty of bad gigs, you know, because if you're not famous, they'll forget who did that bad gig, and you've got another chance of impressing audiences again with another gig where they're like, hey, I've never seen you before, you're really good. Yeah, that's what you got to do. But just so you know what I got to give you a little glimpse into what it was like last night. So I'm going to take you back there, recreate one of the moments, and so you can feel what I feel. Yo, people, what's up? All right, like here's a joke and here's the punchline. Yeah. So that was what it went like. Silence, a lot of silence, and I had a lot of time for thoughts in my head to go over great philosophical questions in my life and in my environment, and I guess from that perspective it was good, you know. I think a little dent in everyone's confidence is probably not the worst thing in the world, right? You don't want people walking around thinking they're gods. So yeah. I'm very grateful, though. I think at some point in my life, I managed to evolve into someone who isn't heartbroken about bad gigs, and is truly accept that that's part of the thing that's going to happen. I never blame the audience. It's easy to blame the audience. It's easy to blame things that happened before you in the show, whatever and stuff. I think at the end of the day, I just kind of go, maybe my jokes weren't right for that audience, and maybe I wasn't, I didn't do the best I could have done. And if I did, then there's some learning I still got to do. And that's, and I'm not just saying that because like I'm some really nice guy who's dedicated to his art form and wants to see the good in everything. But I like to think I am. But besides that, I think you got to be practical about stuff, man. Ego is such a big problem for artists. I've always said this in stand-up comedy. It's just, you can't do it. Like, I don't know how anyone can have a super ego, because there's always, you're one bad gig away, man. Unless maybe you become an A-lister, and you got like these arenas where the fans just, you know, they're just there. They're cheering you on regardless. At some point, you'll see your reviews for your special, and I'm sure you'll be like, that didn't get great reviews at all. I don't know. And how do you know if it was right or wrong, or your ego's coming in the way of like considering it awesome, or it actually did have problems in your material wasn't that great? Questions all artists ask themselves, or is it just me? I don't know. All right, to more real life stuff. Okay, I'm just for those of you who've never listened to my episode before, or my podcast before, you won't know that my kid is autistic. He was diagnosed when he was 2 years old. He's almost 6 now, just a few months away. And what I found was, like, when you discover something like that, you go through a tailspin of emotions and everything. And also, the good thing is a lot of people are super helpful with advice and coming forward and stuff, because, you know, it's a whole new angle you got to look at when parenting, something most people aren't thinking about when they're having their kid. And so, like most new parents, I came across something called ABA. I think it stands for Applied behavior something application, maybe. God, I should know what it means. So, and everyone's like, this is the gold standard, or seemingly it seems like that. It's the gold standard. Everybody's got to do it. It works best. It really helps autistic kids and stuff. And so you go along with it, and it ain't cheap. Yeah. So it's a lot of hours. It's expensive. But you're just like, I got to do this for my child. And it's not so much about the money. Spend whatever I have on, if it gives him a better life like any other parent would, I think. But most parents, there are parents out there who wouldn't. We're not judging you. We think you're just, we don't need to judge you. You're judged. It's not judging if it's real. I don't know. Anyway, so I do this. We get on this plan for the ABA stuff, and it's been a couple of years. We see some things change in our kiddo, some of them good. But then I come across these threads, right? And people are talking about this thing called Autism Society. No, I want to get this name right. Hang on. All right, it's called Autism Speaks. And I had to pause there to really check in if I've got the name right, because I didn't want to speak about the wrong organization. Autism Speaks is quite, like, it's been around for a while. And again, when you're new, it pops up and you look at it and you kind of go, okay, this looks right. And then so through that, we also got into ABA, which is, again, a lot of other people said. And then you come across, you do a little bit more research. There were a couple of things about the way the therapy is done that didn't sit well with me. But I thought maybe this is what he needs. And I'm like, shit, I could be one of those parents who would have allowed electric shocks back in the day because I thought that's what he needs. And that kind of shook me a bit. And I went, I gotta look at this stuff properly. And I came across these threads where they were speaking against Autism Speaks. So I commented and I went, what's the problem with there? And I noticed some people were saying things against ABA. So I commented, and then there was a flood of comments and replies. Very nice people, just like being gentle about it, but really going to town about these two things. So the whole problem with Autism Speaks is that they're kind of shady in some ways. That's what it comes across. Their framing of autism is horrible. And they kind of, their foundation, when you look at the history, it's a little like, I'm like, oh shit. Like, even currently they're like 28 board members or something, and no one, maybe one person is like autistic, but they don't attend the meetings. So you get the picture. It's a charity where a lot of the money goes into paying the salaries rather than, actually working at a solution or whatever. And you just kind of go, all right, like a lot of charities, you got to do a little research and check in what this is, and it ain't pretty. So that was one problem. But then it sent me into a rabbit hole about ABA. And here's the thing. ABA seemingly can be very good. And I still don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. I'm trying to figure this out. But I am leaning towards like cutting that bit out and relying on some other things. But ABA, there was the first shocker was that the person who came up with ABA, they were also responsible for gay conversion therapy. And already I'm like, oh my God, this has Hitler vibes to it, the founding of it. And I think they did use electric shocks back in the day. So I was like, oh my God, like, it's basically concentrated so much on behavior and not the emotional needs of the kid or the person. And that's a problem because it's, here's the thing that caught my eye the first time I looked at it, and I've done some dog training and I've studied it. And I looked at it and I was like, this is so much like dog training. A lot of chunks of it is like dog training. And it made me feel a little upset. I'm like, is this how I want my kid like being educated? And then the number of hours, when I sit back, I'm like, 40 hours a week is a lot, man. I can't do, that's what they recommend. I don't think we ever made my kid, Zion, do that. But it was like, all right, well, so this thing, like the amount of hours is just, it's more than a work week. It's like a work week for adults, for grown-ups, man. And toddlers don't go through that much. So I started feeling a little queasy about these things. The problem now is ABA has evolved into the people delivering it mean well. And the therapists who do it with Zan, I love them. They care so much for him and they want his well being. So it comes from a good place. And it really is, to the naked eye and to me, to someone who doesn't have any background in this, it comes across. Actually, hang on. I do a lot of training work. So there's some aspects of it that I go, I wouldn't want to train people like this. I had to throw that in, but to most people, right? Like it's completely new, and the autism world is new to me. I looked at it and I went, okay, who's complaining about it? And this is the part that shocked me, right? It's the people commenting against it strongly were autistic people, and they were saying like it's horrible, it's torture. It's degrading, it's humiliating, it's stressful. And you know what? I want to lean towards believing the victims. And so many of them saying that it just made me sick to my stomach, because I was like, if I didn't come across this, would I have ended up mucking about my son so much that he grows up resentful to me, and or just a shell of himself because it's a weird thing to do. I don't know. It's trying to, one way to understand it is like you're trying to get this kid who's a square through a circle peg hole, and it's just too big, and so you start like shaving the sides and breaking it up to make it fit into the circle that we know of. That most of us are circles, and that bit hit me hard, man. There's some aspects, and again, as a parent, some aspects of the ABA have really helped us at home. But I just kind of like, I'm in this mind of like, does this work? Is it worth my sanity to put my kid through this? And that's no way. The other thing I was saying about it was that it was it's to the naked eye, to someone who doesn't know, you can't tell because it doesn't look harmful in any way. And like I said, the therapists are really lovely and they mean well. So you're kind of like, this is just kind of, it's like tough gymnastics or physiotherapy after an injury. You got to do it. And a lot of the autistic people that commented, the neurodivergent folks were like, yeah, but it's like you're trying to fix a disease and I'm okay. I just have a different pattern of thinking. It's not like some of the other issues at hand. And that the fact that they're saying all that made me go, whoa, maybe that's what I've been trying to do. And there are repercussions for ABA. One of the biggest dangers that I know, that I read up on, and a lot of people spoke about as well. So, it's coming from a lot of sources, and like I said, a lot from the victim side. And there was this, it was the fact that it takes away the belief that your own emotions are important, because the therapist will just make you do the stuff, and how you feel and how you do certain things, it doesn't matter. We just want you to behave in a certain way. So kids learn to mask, and more scary was the fact that they learned to go, well, my needs aren't important. Grown-ups, I'll just listen to this person instead. And that's why a lot of them get abused. That freaked me out completely. And I've seen that in a more grown-up child. He's about 13. And in fact, his mom just dropped the note saying that, we're going through this phase where he looks to me for approval for everything. And when I read this, that comment came back to my mind, and I was like, wow, that is what we've done. And that's why they get abused, because they just go along. They don't know how to speak up for themselves anymore after this. And that's, again, one of the biggest fears of this therapy. So one of the things my wife said that made me think was like, well, these people who are commenting and stuff, would they have been able to reach this place without ABA? And by that, for those of you who don't have any experience with autism, it's like my kid's nonverbal, and so far he speaks a bit, but it's kind of like he's not completely nonverbal, but I've seen people who are, and there's this whole thing of like, well, would they be able to learn enough without some level of ABA to help them sit through. For example, again, with my kid, he would never sit at a table to sit and learn and concentrate. And he does so now. I don't know, maybe a little bit of it is needed, but then there are optional, there are alternatives that people have been talking to me about, like OT. Another parent told me that OT, this is occupational therapy, and that is that's considered much better. He said if I could go back, I'd do less ABA and more OT. He didn't know anything. He didn't mention anything about ABA being bad, so I don't know if it was just a general overview from him, like a general, kind of comment, or whether he didn't speak to me about the ABA side. But he said that, and then obviously speech therapy. So I'd rather spend money and time on those two and see how that goes. It's very difficult because you finally think you're on a path to get the right thing going for your kid, and then my wife's probably distressed because I'm like, no, I don't know about this anymore. I don't know if we should do this, and she's like, man, we just had a plan going and stuff, and I've kind of disrupted it. But obviously, at a deeper level, she's as concerned as I am about this, and so this is another whole new journey that's going to kick off now because I decide to read stuff online. It's terrible. Yeah, man, like parenting is so hard, and on top of these things, and stuff, it's tricky. That's where I stand. I wanted to share this because if you know any better, then please do reach out to me and talk to me about this, because I would love to hear from people in person. If you didn't know anything about it and you have people around you who do it, be gentle about how you say it, because like I said, even us, we're having a hard time going, ABA is such a thing. And I saw even on the comments, most of the people defending it were neurotypical parents. And mainly because, they said, yeah, our life is better. It has helped the family and stuff. And I go, I get that point too. And I hear it. And you're looking for some kind of way to address something. Some things are difficult. They might have a tantrum and you don't know how to handle it, versus like a neurotypical kid. So the worst thing you can do is like go up to them going, ABA is horrible, you should never do it. Maybe just get them to start reading some stuff as well. And most parents are concerned enough to go, all right, I should look at some alternatives as well. And it's horrible that, this is one of the problems. Everything just becomes mainstream and marketed so well that you just go along with it because what do you do, man? No one's born knowing this stuff, and we have to discover it. And alternatives aren't marketed as well either. That's one of the other things, is how much ABA is thrown out there. It's an American-led thing. From what I know, the UK didn't have ABA not too long ago. You had to find a private person, and they didn't have ABA for the longest time, but now it's being introduced. And I wonder if that's a horrible thing creeping in over there as well. UAE is very ABA based as well, unfortunately. Like, that's what you hear everywhere. The Dubai Autism Center, which is a great center, also does rely on ABA therapy though. So I'm just looking at all these things going, where do you restart and re-begin and re-educate? And yeah, like I said, be gentle. If you know someone, please do start educating them about it. Hey, in a couple of episodes, I might be like, hey, false alarm, it's all good. But I genuinely think it's not going to be one of those things, mainly because, like I said, I'd rather believe the victims and the amount. I haven't had one autistic kid come up in any comments or anywhere online going, you know what, that's what helped me and changed my life. And that's the part that makes me go, yep, I think we got to get rid of this shit. All right, this is a bit of a different episode. I still hope it was fun for you. It was me just speaking out my mind right now because anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you in the next one. I gotta get going. Take care of yourself, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
Thanks for joining us on another adventure with the Expat Brat, proudly brought to you by Capper Productions. If you enjoyed the show, please help us keep the mic running by clicking the link in the description and dropping as little as $3 to support us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on our latest episodes.